I'm grateful that the Orthodox could make a contribution to the papal encyclical. I think there are a number of good things in it. Certainly the reaffirmation of traditional Catholic morality, which the Orthodox Church shares. It's always welcome to hear that reaffirmed. In addition, the Orthodox also maintain that material prosperity is a positive good, that it's a blessing from God, and that it enables us, in turn, to be able to help the poor. We, of course, would also like to see the poor be able to rise out of poverty themselves, so that in turn they themselves are able to turn around and help others who are in worse straits than themselves. Things with which my heart were not at peace when I looked over parts of the encyclical were some of the reference to markets. When Dr. Randy Morris and I co-authored our monograph on environmentalism for the Acton Institute a couple of years ago, one of the things that we had noticed in reading some Orthodox writers and speakers on environmentalism was an almost negative view of markets, as if they were a thing rather than simply people exchanging with one another the goods and services that they provide. And it struck us as odd because, yes, there can be excesses in the market, but there was never any reference made to all the good things that come from markets, nor of any of the good things that come from the capitalist West. It was almost a universal condemnation of consumerism, greed, and competition. And yet out of that same matrix, we have such positive goods as the advances in medical science, new drugs, technological innovations that help people's lives in a number of ways, cheaper and more effective means of agriculture and raising food to lower food prices for people. And somehow all of the goods that come never seem to get any good publicity. And regrettably, I didn't find much good publicity for markets in the papal encyclical either. I found 19 references to markets in the encyclical, and I don't believe a single one of them were positive. To point to one instance, in fact, which frankly grieves me to do, His Holiness spoke of a deified market. I don't know of anybody who deifies the market, and I'm not quite sure who he's talking about. There are good things that come from free exchange. There are good things that come from innovation. There are good things that free people to be able to engage with other people in open ways and to share what they have. In fact, one of the stories that perhaps doesn't get as much press as it should is that, what is the statistic? I think it's in the last decade, 25% of the world's poor have risen out of abject poverty. And the reason for that has been the opening up of markets and the freedom of trade in Southeast Asia and in India. And this is a marvelous thing. And so, the freedom that we have to exchange with one another is one of the ways that we can most effectively help the poor. It's also the case with regards to the environment that it's in the most advanced countries that we find the innovation and that we find the will and the desire to be able to do something about environmental issues. And so where do you find innovation? Where do you find work on alternative sources of energy? Where do you find means of improving battery storage capability? Where do you find innovative means of agriculture or protecting green space? You find them in Western Europe and in America. Alas, poor people in the third world are concerned with maintaining their lives. They're concerned with, in some cases, with subsisting. And for them, environmental questions do not arise. They're largely a first world question. And so for that reason, there's very good things that can come out of the West. I was disappointed not to find a more positive evaluation of what the Western world has to offer with regards to environmental issues, beyond a critique of us being consumerist and greedy.